Well, it's happening. It's happening. What am I talking about? Well, let's just start. If a brown dwarf, which is an electron producing machine, passed through our solar system, we would see electrons on all of our instruments. And that's what we've been seeing, an increase in electrons. And we know they've been increasing because now 90% of the electron measuring instruments have been taken offline. Why would that happen? All at the same time, roughly at the same time, to hide the fact there are more electrons. The magnetosphere confuses people. The BZ and the BX component are earthly and solar related. The BY component is more solar system related. We saw an entire shift of about minus 50 in our BZ and BX components, the electromagnetic field between this Earth-Sun and the electromagnetic field created by the poles of our own Earth. There's the BZ complex that would be, and we now have seen it shifted back up to back where it used to be a few years ago. And people say that our magnetic field was getting weaker, but the thing is you can't really decrease the spin of Earth. You can't decrease the number of electrons in the solar system. Generally, the only way you can do that is to bring in an electron source, which a brown dwarf would be. But when the BZ and the BX component took a dive of minus 50 nanoteslas, that's how you measure a magnetic field, not by the distance that the magnetic field is from Earth, calling it a collapse. No, nanoteslas. Nanoteslas. That's how you measure the strength of a magnetic field. But when we lost the minus 50 in the BZBX, we also lost minus 50 in the BY component. So you didn't really see a decreasing of energy. You saw a shifting of the magnetic field. When this brown dwarf passed underneath Saturn, many things happened. A lot of changes on Saturn, some of them visible with the naked eye. But there was this one controversial video about somebody with an amateur telescope and a zoom on a camera capturing these light anomalies. They were not, and I repeat, these light anomalies, these light beams coming from the rings of Saturn, were not artifact as depicted here. There is a big difference what was going on there. These things you see right before you with planet Mercury and the Sun, those were set in motion, and the angle of that anomaly changed proportionately to the motion of Mercury itself. These anomalies did not. It didn't matter where Saturn was headed and how fast it was headed. It did not change the angle of these light projections coming off its rings. The other thing that hinted it wasn't an anomaly is that sometimes there was no anomaly. Then it'd flash on, they'd flash off, they'd flash back on, one at a time, two together, none, one at a time, two together. And so there really was no consistent proportionate change in the anomaly that accounted for a proportionate change in the motion of Saturn. Therefore, we concluded this was electron exchange happening through a cloud of helium. And when that happened, it lights up the electron streams, and you got to see what was going on underneath the rings of Saturn, operating just like a cloud in our atmosphere, loading up electrons on the underneath side of the ring system, and in Saturn's case, composed of dust and ice, which we know are very electrically influenced by electrons. So these anomalies weren't even coming from the core or the poles of Saturn or the center of the object, but coming from underneath the ring systems. But if you were heating our globe, then you would speed up the speed of our jet stream, which has happened. It spills out. We throw in a little geoengineering. We split off our jet streams into these giant vortexes. And these vortexes reach all the way down to the equator and grab moisture and sling that moisture, sometimes in a matter of just a week, taking that moisture from the equator and throwing it up north of Greenland. That is a huge, huge swing. So what happens is the backside of these storms get cold because they reach up and grab cold air, bringing it south. But the part going up, the moisture going from lower left to upper right, that is hot, hot water headed right to Greenland. And we're going to see what happens. These vortexes come down and disrupt the overall flow of the Pacific system. The Pacific system of moisture is supposed to be a gradual clockwise rotation to these belts, and now it's really hard to determine what kind of rotation the entire Pacific weather pattern is doing. We still see a general attempt at a large scale clockwise rotation, but parts of that rotation are going in the wrong direction. South of Hawaii, south middle portion of your screen, and even parts up north, we're going in the wrong direction. But if there was a brown dwarf in the solar system and its cosmic rays were lighting up the corona of the sun, we should see the symptoms and increased radiation, and we should be able to detect it just in the oceanic temperatures alone. You see, oceans are a wonderful absorber of radiation. In fact, even gamma radiation. And so, yes, if you have extreme radiation coming from the sun, and then you have a jet stream bringing moisture from the equator right to Greenland's front door, then you're going to have extreme melt. And that's what we are seeing. Roughly 30% of Greenland's surface ice has disappeared in just a matter of a day or two. Well, that reminds us of what happened in 2011, 2012, doesn't it? And the Greenland melt extent, you're not going to hear about, nor are you going to hear talk about it. But that phenomenon of grabbing moisture from the equator and hauling it up north, that phenomenon was first pointed out by this channel. So you're looking at you're looking at Greenland losing its surface ice within a week. And remember, you heard it here first. And it was the first place to point out this phenomenon of water transport from the equator to the Arctic. We were the ones to first point this out on YouTube. So we'd like you to remember, who's involved in the real research, and it's the Higher Truth channel. So until next time, stay prepared. I mean, there's so much going on. We're not out of the woods by a long, long way. Our predictions in terms of position of the brown dwarf are subjective and not as firm as our previous predictions because of the fast-moving speed of this brown dwarf, we believe. But still, our predictions are holding true and demonstrating that the position that we say this brown dwarf is in and the direction it is headed is probably pretty accurate. And don't forget, over on patreon.com, you can subscribe to our channel and see almost 36 videos produced this year, not seen anywhere on YouTube. And this particular topic, we go into much greater detail and pull out all the stops. Of course, if you want to see those videos, subscribe to us over at patreon.com. The Higher Truth Rises. Thank you.